Well, welcome everyone. We're really excited to have you join us for the View from the Cash Register, our holiday edition. I don't know about all of you, but I can't believe it's already the holidays. I don't know where this year went, but it's gone by really fast. And I love this time of year. I really call it the holy grail of retail. For those of us that have worked stores, we know that this is the time when we turn the red bottom line into black. So we're excited to talk about and really follow up to our part one, because this year is going to be a little bit different than previous years. It's really a paradox because we have the consumer who's going to be spending almost $1 trillion, but we have retailers hiring 15% less staff. So I'm going to leave you with that. I'm going to introduce myself and introduce my wonderful esteemed panelists. I think you're going to be really excited about what we talk about today, and hopefully you'll be able to take away one or two things that you can really implement and use in your business. So my name is Linda Johansson James. I am the CEO and founder of International Retail Group. I'm the publisher of International Retail Magazine. I am a proud advisory board member of Retail Tech Media Nexus, and really happy to be part of this. And I'm an author. I just wrote a book, AI for Retail Success. So let me take a minute and introduce Casey. We're really excited to bring you back again, Casey. So take a few minutes and introduce yourself, who you're with.
Great. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Happy to be here and looking forward to the conversation. I'm Casey Rosette. I'm a multifaceted marketing leader that is passionate about consumer connection and really focused on sustainable brand growth. And we'll talk about that today. My career spans the retail industry, and I've worked for more than 15 years with many iconic brands that you know and hopefully have in your closets, including Vans, The North Face, Timberland, Dickies, Wrangler, Lee, New Balance, and Jockey. And most recently, I led as Senior Director of Media and Omnichannel Marketing for Vans, covering the US and Canada, spending quite a lot of time in retail and leading retail marketing in VM as a part of that. And now I'm the founder of Clever Edge Consulting. And that is a marketing consultancy focused on supporting clients in the spaces of marketing strategy, analytics, and investment optimization to drive growth. So excited to jump in.
And that's quite a career, Casey, and you're going to have a lot of great information to share with us. So Cindy?
Yeah, it's a little hard to follow, Casey. So I've been in retail all my life. I've had an amazing opportunity to work for Nordstrom for upwards of 30 years. And at Current, I work for Purple, the mattress company built and founded on their proprietary grid that changes life-changing sleep. And so it's been a very interesting adventure for me as I've worked through a mainly visual merchandising / store design career. At Current, I do lead store design, store experience, and visual merchandising for Purple. And in all of that, I think the learnings have only culminated in this continued understanding of what does the consumer really want, what are they engaging with, and how do we actually make it easier for them to want to be in a store where they can actually shop from home, so much easier than getting in a car and actually going. So we have to make it worth it, and I think that's what all of our ambition is.
Well, great. Well, listen, I'm really excited to get started. But before we do, listen, if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comment section. And the team from Retail Tech Media Nexus will answer them after the recording. And I do want to thank Vanessa and Dominic really for all of their support in making all of this happen. So let's really jump right in. So in part one, we really talked about how the way the consumer shops in store and at the register has really changed. Most of us, and I hate to date myself, but I'm going to, most of us remember going up, to the POS stand, the cash wrap. I mean, that's where everything happened, right? But we talked about in part one, where 73% of the consumers now are cashless, right? And 43% are using digital wallets. So now the next step is we're talking about this AI recognition. We're talking about, and listen, I profess to be an expert, I'm not, but we're using biometrics. Costco's implementing cameras and receipt scanning, right? So with your experience, really what can the retailer, and I'd say shopping center do, but more retailer, what can they do today to really get ready for all of these changes and embrace it this holiday season, if they can? So Casey, let's start with you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of catching up to do, even to get to kind of the step before what you're talking about,
Yep.
which is getting out of a fixed kind of mindset and the older model of a destination to check out instead of, Cindy will chat about it as well, really bringing that to the consumer. And so at Vans and some of the other brands I've worked with, there may be a fixed destination and it's more of a grounding place for the store staff, for storing bags and, other items that are needed on the floor. But we've also kind of stepped away from that to put either a kiosk or an iPad station throughout the store, in addition to connecting to Wi-Fi, getting consumers on their own phone. So there's multiple opportunities, and it avoids the clog and log jam that happens when you have a destination that everyone is kind of forced, to enter into.
Well, and that's so interesting what you said, and Cindy, I'm going to get to you, but the register is no longer a destination, right? It's no longer a place where you take people. It's anywhere where people are. And Cindy, you had some great feedback a little earlier when we were talking. So I'd love your feedback on this. And what can our retailers do today to really embrace the way people are shopping today?
Well, first of all, they've got to get out of their own way. And I think that sometimes we get stuck in what we've always done instead of where we actually need to be. And I think being forward thinking is actually a harder thing to do than what we say. It's a mindset and a choice. And I think that when you think about what the consumer actually needs, what do they really want?
Yes.
What they want is they still want emotion. They still want somebody that cares, but they want to be able to do it quickly. They want it to not be frictionless. Frictionless is critical state, right?
Yep.
I think about a current shopping example that I had that I won't get into the who, but it was horrific. And I walked out, and I never do that. I am a retailer. But I just couldn't continue down the path that we were on. And it wasn't good, right? We weren't going to get from point A to point B. In the stores that I designed for Purple, we took out the register. We did that on purpose. Right. So everything is done from an iPad. The consumer gets to choose where they want to be. Now I understand that's a smaller environment. It's one that you can really curate. However, I think there is that opportunity regardless of who you are. I do think Casey's right. Depending upon the size of retail and what you're selling, you may actually need that grounding station that becomes that point that, again, store employees know where to be. They know how to, get what they need out of it. But does it need to look like a register? Does it actually need to look like a checkout? And I think there's something there in that. But I think it comes back to understanding your analytics and understanding how the consumer shops you. Mm-hmm. How do they navigate you? And are you pushing them to a place that they actually don't want to be in? Mm-hmm. And it's like you become like herding cattle, right? And I think back to my Nordstrom days, they weren't that far along the path at the time that I left them. It's definitely only increased. But the Nordstrom family had a very clear policy about not wanting consumers to feel like they were being herded into
one place,
destinations that they actually didn't want to be in. And so I think that there is something there in that. But loyalty comes from connection comes from emotion. You can't take that out.
Listen, it's absolutely, but let me ask you this. So I think this is so important, especially for our new brands and for our first time retailers, maybe even for our big box retailers. What you're saying is be where the customer is. So make sure you have like a mobile device, right? Make sure you don't have just this POS register behind you go behind the counter. So make sure you're arming people. I think something really inexpensive, right, is to make sure that you have portable POS system, right? That's, I mean, you can add it to Shopify, you can add it to Clover, you can add it to all those, and they could really do that today, right?
Yeah. It's a low barrier to entry. And I think then you just have to come back to your staffing model, though.
Yes, exactly.
Who's actually going to engage the consumer, and how are you dispersing staff around the store? And if it's a multi-level store, how do you think about the fluidity needed to really, be where they need to be? But the barrier to entry of like the tech enablement can be very low.
It can be very minimal. And the way you can find out how your consumers want to shop in your store is actually a really simple one too, right? Survey your customers and ask them, how do you like to buy in our store? Because you and I both know, being longtime retailers, right, that people don't wait anymore. We used to be able to stand in line for 10 minutes. We knew on Black Friday that people opened up at 6 a.m. The first 20 people got a gift and would stand in line and wait for it. But they don't anymore. They put their stuff down like you talked about, Cindy, or they get on their phone and say, well, I can't wait, I just ordered it. So I think really what you're talking about is to survey your customers, ask them what they want, and train your employees, right, Casey, to your point, which is so important to know how to handle these challenges. So listen, Cindy, you really mentioned it. And for me, this is why I shop in store. So yes, I'm a baby boomer. Yes, I prefer to shop in store if I can. I don't like to buy clothes online anyway. But the emotional connection for me happens in store, right? I don't care how good you are online. It's not the same as me talking to you, right? So the holidays are really emotional, and people are stressed, and especially with money and all of that. So with implementing all this technology, how do we still keep that personalization and that one-on-one customer experience when we already know, and I can tell you this firsthand, that we're struggling to hire people? But people are going to be spending more money. So how do we keep that personalization in the store? Cindy, how do you keep it in the store?
Well, I think you let the tech do what the tech does, right? So allow it to be the engine it needs to be, and then let your sales associate be the emotion. And I think that once you allow those two things to,
I'm going to quote you on that.
And I think that once we have, it's sort of like trusting the backup camera on your car. I really don't. My kids give me a hassle about it.
Oh my God.
I'm terrible. But when I think about this, it's the same. We have to learn to trust the tech and then allow our team to have the emotion and have the connection with the consumer. So it could be in the briefest moment, right? If your tech is so good that you can fly through a store, pick up what you need, make it through your register moment. And we see companies doing it all over the place, right? You put it in a bin, it rings it up. You don't have to do anything but put it in a bag and you're out the door. That there is something about having somebody on the ready that is talking to you. Hey, how are you doing? Oh my gosh, that's the cutest piece. Whatever it is. And all of a sudden you start to feel connected to that environment, and it doesn't feel like no one cared about you.
Well, I'm going to quote you on that. Let the tech be the tech. Let your employees be the emotion. That is just so brilliant. No, seriously, I love it. It's perfect. Casey.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And I think the layer or build I would add is empower your employees and give them tools or product or incentives to personalize the experience. So it could be a surprise and delight, and it, things we've done in the past, stickers, other small things that don't cost a lot of money, but it's a choice by the employee as they or staff, as they're engaging with a consumer. It sparks something. It, is a brief, like person-to-person exchange. And those are moments that can't be and shouldn't be like a copy-paste standardized transaction. It's a more organic, more connected conversation. And it doesn't also have to take a lot of time. Having, a little bit of freedom to make, or empower the team to want to create those moments and to seek them out it comes back, we've talked about before, but, unreasonable hospitality, it's kind of the same idea, but give them the toolkit to do that and see what happens. I think that is a much more motivating approach for the team, and it ends up with a better result for the consumer as well.
I love that, Casey, and I've been actually working on a little something along those lines for the holiday season. And I think it's these little micro things that you sort of have this little kit that they can pull from as they choose, right? They're pulling it out of their back pocket. It's not every customer that walks in gets a sticker.
Right.
I don't want that, actually. I want the thing that somebody curated just for me. Now they didn't. There's 6 things that they can choose from or whatever it is. And they might not even be things. It might be phrases. It might be just scripty little things that you taught the team to do, so that there is this thing they can fly back on, and it's not what they would maybe come up with themselves, right? You've given them a set of tools.
Exactly.
I love that. And I think today's consumer, as we all know, wants that experience, right? They want to know, why am I going to go, Casey, to your store, or Cindy to your store, when I can sit back, text on my little phone, and have it right to my house? So what makes that experience? It's the emotion. It's whatever you're talking about, making that experience like lasting, right? Mm-hmm. So what can we do, or what can retailers do now? We've got 2 weeks from tomorrow, when it used to be the busiest shopping day of the year. It's no longer the biggest shopping day of the year, because we see that retailers have already started Black Friday promotions, right? Yep. So what can retailers do now in their store design to really drive that engagement and the customer wanting to come in your store as they're walking by? What can we do to really engage with them from a store design perspective and a merchandising? So Casey? Oh, Cindy, go ahead.
It doesn't matter. I think that if
both of you have so much experience.
What we can do today to be ready for what's happening in 2 weeks, those are small changes that you can make at this point, because you should already be set. And you should be ready for your navigation should be clear. You should have your right signage. You should be ready to go. And the fluidity of it should already be happening, so that we're practicing now for what is only a buildup towards the rest of the season. And really the big days are at the back end. I'm finding, I think Black Friday is sure as a pulse, over those 4 or 5 days. But then it really does push into, I think, the last week and a half, because that's when folks really have to make the final decision and they get going.
Right. But what if they haven't, Cindy? I guess my point is, what could they do simply now to design their store to be engaging? Is there any quick point you could give them that they could implement now as they're listening and thinking, wow, I don't really think I have that wow factor in my store?
Okay, well, I think it's step back, first of all, and really truly put on some fresh glasses, look at your store, and make sure that what you're seeing is actually what you thought it was. Then you're going to watch the consumer and see what they're doing. Are they actually walking the store the way you thought they were going to? Today, do it today. Don't wait. And then
walk in as a customer, not as a manager or associate.
No, you have to put on a whole set of different eyes, and then shop your competition. Of course, if you haven't done that, that's textbook, right? You're always doing that, but you should be. And then looking at your navigation. Are you able to actually navigate the store the way you thought you could? And is the customer following the path you thought they would? If they aren't, you've done something that isn't actually engaging them the way that you assumed, and I'm doubtful that you would get the conversion you think you would. So, Casey?
Yeah, no, agree. And I think, in terms of, to your point, we plan displays and windows. I mean,
we have planograms.
You're in June planning for October. But I think there's a lot of power in, displays on floor and small adjustments in VM, visual merchandising, that can freshen the store. I think the caution is like a double-edged sword of, yes, you want to make sure your store looks as great as it can look, but also if you have limited staff, don't let all their time get sucked up in, a lot of redo or refinement happening day to day or week to week. They need their hours and their bandwidth to be engaging with consumers. So figure out what is a solid plan and get the planogram set. Let it just be small edits and cleanup, and then maybe make a couple of adjustments as you go through the season, highlight new product, front table, window, things like that are a small change out, but that preserve most of the time for your team to be really engaging the consumer. So I do think there's a little bit of a caveat on that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Casey, and that's an incredibly important point. And I think that the other thing is to really watch your product. If you thought something was a winner when it was purchased, and even when you brought it into the store and you set it up and you've got the perfect, display, et cetera, and it's not moving, you move it now. You don't. And I think that's basic retail again, but again, these are the things you can do in the moment, right? Well, beyond what we're talking about.
With that point, because I think that's a really good shout, just back to the empowerment theme,
yes,
watching your store level data and empowering your local teams and store level teams to make those change out. So watch the trends of what's selling in Chicago different than Seattle and adjust accordingly, and don't wait. So, you need to be moving, the items that are working. If you've got, in my case, like a footwear and apparel or an outfitting option that seems to be popping and it's different than, a national planogram, give teams the chance to test them out, as long as it's not wholly disruptive to the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Well, and
that is so important, I think.
And if you have the technology, excuse me, Linda, if you have the technology already built into your systems where you're watching heat maps and dwell time, et cetera, you will actually know very quickly whether or not what you've done is signaling to the customer in the way that you thought it would. And
AI, that's the way that AI
is the player here. And so if you've got that technology, leverage it. Let's use it and make sure that you're really using the power that it's giving you right now, because this is critical state for us to all make the end of the year.
And unless you don't have a POS system, which I assume that every retailer has a POS system, this data can be easily found, right? And you can implement AI for heat mapping, traffic counting, conversion rates. We were talking about this earlier, and I know it's not really off topic, but it really has helped drive your holiday season. What we're really trying to say is the register isn't the register anymore. It's not a place. It's not a place. You check out people where they want to check out. You look at your heat maps. Cindy, this was so important to bring up. You look at your conversion rate. You look at where people are dwelling and what they're buying. And I think that's a simple tool that could be implemented, really quite inexpensively. I did some research yesterday and found some traffic counters, heat mapping, and conversion rate data that one of my clients could get for like $300 or $400. So it's not a lot, but what you'll get on the back end is you'll really understand what your consumer wants, what they buy, and you'll take what Cindy and Casey has said, and that is you'll allow your team to make those critical decisions during the holiday. And I, maybe you guys will disagree, but that's okay. But I believe that nothing except your HR policies should be set in cement, because it should be set in sand, because tides change. Look at the way things have changed in the past 3 months since we had our conversation before, right? So everything that you're saying, I think if the retailers take it to heart, it will really help them just make a success out of this year. So listen, I could talk to you ladies forever, which we may do another one after the holidays and see how it went, right? Follow up.
Love it.
Love it.
Dominic, Vanessa? No. So listen, for me, customer loyalty and the lifetime value of my customers and your customers, and we talked about this last time a little bit, these LTVs don't always get tracked. How often do I buy from you? How often do I come in? What really is your customer's lifetime value? And now, with all the technology happening today with the biometrics and receipt checkouts, how can we embrace keeping our customers loyal after the promotions, after the holidays, after all the fa la la and happiness? How do we keep them as a lifetime customer? What can we do in the checkout process to ensure that we're capturing that information? Casey, you're the data queen here. You come across as a data queen too. So
yeah, I think there's a lot, like all the brands that we've worked with have the benefit of being, data holders and having a wealth of information to use. And I think we touched on last time, then the question is how you use it. So customers know that you have their information. They want you to use it respectfully and in a tailored way to the extent that you can. So I think a few elements that are important: are you curating the product? Are you communicating and reaching them in a way that's going to resonate based on the data of what they've purchased before, based on anecdotes? I mean, if there's ways in the future at scale to even include, snippets of conversations that are happening on the retail floor, even better. But whatever you know about that consumer, use that in the way that you reach out to them, and then be thoughtful about the frequency. I think that's where a lot of brands get it wrong.
Oh, yes. That's where we unsubscribe.
You got 10 emails a week. I will stop buying brands occasionally because I just don't agree with their marketing practices and I'm sick of it. And so I think know when you have the opportunity, use it wisely.
Wonderful.
And the last thing I'd mention is just make sure that there's a reason to come into store. So, there are a lot of interesting brands. Everlane is one in the apparel space where they're an e-com brand, they're D2C led, and now they're intentionally opening up stores that give you opportunity to try on, to experience, touch and feel the product.
Yep.
It's really a space and a place that you want to dwell and you want to linger. And so how do you think about building that community and the reason to come to the store instead of the reverse, which is the trapping of a lot of big retailers that began brick and mortar and then went to e-com? Such
great points there. Cindy, we're going to wrap up with you. I'll say a few words, and I can't believe it's already a half hour. Can you?
We can talk over her. We all love it. We love the game. I think that we're so busy sometimes just focusing on capturing the sale. And we have to remember there's so much stickiness involved in that one moment. And what we do to have an engagement with the consumer, Casey, you struck on that we're picking up on the details of their life. We're remembering those things. And we're really creating something that is worthy of them wanting to be loyal to us. And that is, us being loyal to them is one thing. We want to drive them being loyal to us and make that choice. And so it's the follow-up moments, it's friction-free returns, it's how did you handle every single one of these touch points along the way? And does your staff know how critical it is, because they're the front line. Right. They are the moment, and they are the ones that the consumer remembers, good or bad. And so your brand hinges very much on their ability to push the brand forward and allow the consumer to have had a great experience. And those are the memories. So create memories. We do it every day. So let's do it.
And that's so important. And you mentioned it, and I'm just going to end with this, is that you can change people's perception. You can help them to want to shop all channels, regardless of if you're online, TikTok, whatever you're doing. The experience they have in store will dictate, right, how they feel about you as a brand. And on the loyalty side, I always believe in making sure, and regardless of what POS system you have, most of them now track. So Shopify, I think, does a really great job at it. So big plug Shopify for you. I love it. But so I can mention to you, Casey, when you come in store, hi, my name is Linda. I find out your name. I go look on my little handheld now, not to the register, because I now have a handheld. And I say, oh, Casey, you're a member of our loyalty program. Thank you. Oh, by the way, today you have $20 to spend. So not waiting till they get to the cash register to say it, right, but really talking about it all along the way. And if we have handheld things, we can train our employees to really understand and get that customer's name right in the beginning. So we know what kind of customer they are. So listen, we're talking about the holidays and the register, but really what this is this is the beginning. The holidays are a beginning of a relationship with your customers, right? And if you look at it that way, then that relationship will continue. And you guys had so many great points. And look at it, it's 10 o'clock right on the button. So I just want to end, and I'm sorry, guys, I have to read this because I want to make sure that we kind of summarize what we talked about, and that is that it's not just a holiday relationship, it's a year-long relationship or a lifetime relationship with your customers. And what you two said, you're so brilliant, and I thank you so much for all your incredible insight and valuable pieces of advice for hopefully the people that were watching today. But remember, AI supports our teams. It doesn't take their place, right? That design supports the flow and the customer experience. The data supports personalization, which you both said, and the people support the magic, which Cindy, you said so brilliantly. I'm going to copy you and re-say that all the time. So listen, I want to thank you two tremendously, and Vanessa for putting this all together. Dominic couldn't be with us. We missed him. Maybe next time. And again, I'm Linda Johansson, and I hope that you were able to take away one or two tips that you can implement before the holiday season. I wish you all an incredible holiday season and a great 2026. And hopefully we can wrap up the holiday season in January, ladies.
Yeah. Great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.